Donald Trump also spoke about his ongoing spat with Mexico's president. Here's what he had to say about why their meeting had been cancelled.
The President of Mexico and myself have agreed to cancel our planned meeting scheduled for next week. Unless Mexico is going to treat the United States fairly, with respect, such a meeting would be fruitless, and I want to go a different route.
Well, our Jennifer Glasse is in Washington for more on this. So, Jennifer, they were going to meet. The meeting has now been cancelled. It's quite a diplomatic spat that's emerging between Mexico and the United States, with only a few days of Donald Trump in office.
It certainly is. Now, look, Donald Trump has not been popular in Mexico as a candidate and now not as president after he signed that executive order this week to start construction on the wall along that border with Mexico, saying all along that Mexico would pay for that border wall. Mexico has repeatedly said it would not pay for that wall. Most recently last night, the Mexican president issued a video saying that it was disrespectful to Mexico and that he would protect Mexicans' interests, and he was under a lot of pressure to cancel that meeting, and that is what he did. He notified the White House and said that he would not be coming to the White House next Tuesday for that summit with President Trump. And of course, this is kind of a theme that we've seen, the President Trump narrative of things and how it sort of all played out. After the pressure last night and the very frosty message he gave, Donald Trump tweeted this morning that if Mexico was not going to agree to pay for the wall, then it should reconsider the meeting, and then saying again that he and the Mexican president had agreed not to meet, when it seems clear that Mexico's president actually said he wouldn't come, and has been very clear all along that Mexico does not plan to pay for the wall. We have heard from Donald Trump and Republican lawmakers that there are ways to make Mexico pay for the wall, perhaps through getting money back, through aid to Mexico or trade somehow in the trade deficit, but there's been no clear plan for that. But what started as a difference of opinion and a spat now seems to become a real Donald Trump's very first diplomatic problem with the state to the south.
Absolutely. It's going to only harden over the coming days. Now, a further development, Jennifer, that's happened in the last few hours is the forced resignation, as we understand it, of many senior staff from the United States State Department. That's essentially the foreign service that deals with how the US's works abroad. Just explain exactly what's taken place and how important that is.
Well, Kamali, we're not exactly sure whether they were forced resignations. Actually, the administration says they were not forced registrations. It is traditional, especially with political appointees, that when a new administration comes in, everybody who's a political appointee, and there are thousands of them in the government, in the U.S. government, they tender their resignation. Oftentimes, especially in the case of the State Department, for example, where there's not a Secretary of State in place, people keep their places until a replacement can be named, and then there's a little bit of a handover or someone steps aside, especially in these key offices. We're talking about Assistant Secretary of State for Administration, for Consular Affairs, the Director of the Office of Foreign Missions, that's all of the embassies abroad. We asked the State Department about this. They say it's part of a routine transition. We don't know. I haven't been able to get a hold of any of these people themselves to find out whether they stepped down because of where they are, or they felt that they were pushed out, or whether the administration has anyone in place. But as I say, there's no Secretary of State in place. For example, when Bill Clinton transitioned to George W. Bush, his Secretary of State was approved on the first day. Rex Tillerson, Donald Trump's pick for Secretary of State, has not been approved and won't be approved this week, at least, because the Republicans are in Philadelphia. So we're not exactly clear why those senior officials left. Administration officials say there are career civil servants in their place, but these are key positions. So basically, it seems as though the State Department's in a holding pattern for now until they can get those positions filled. But of course, the first position they'll want to fill is Secretary of State, and waiting for the Senate confirmation of Rex Tillerson on that. Perhaps there'll be a vote in the Senate next week.
And Jennifer, just finally, just how significant is it that these positions are now vacant? These are people that deal with American staff security abroad in places like Afghanistan, in other countries around the world. These are significant experienced staff, and it's going to be very difficult for the new Trump administration to replace them.
Well, it's unclear whether they have people in mind and haven't announced. I think that's been the real challenge here. And we do know that the Trump administration had asked 50 key members of Obama's staff to stay on through the transition because they were so late getting many of their nominations in, and so few cabinet members have been confirmed. So far, only 2 cabinet members and the head of the CIA have been confirmed. And that's fewer than the last 2 presidents have had. And that, of course, creates a bit of a problem. Many of these embassies are already kind of operating on automatic pilot. Their ambassadors formally submit their resignations, and new ambassadors are on the way, but yet to be sworn in. It's a big time of transition here in Washington. It's unclear now. We were just getting news that these people stepped down on Wednesday. It's unclear now what that will mean for foreign missions, what will it mean for State Department administration. I don't think anything's going to grind to a halt in the next day or so. It really depends on how long this goes on and who's in those positions, and we're not exactly sure who that is right now. The State Department officials in place say, citing privacy concerns, they won't name names.
Absolutely. Okay, well, Jennifer, thanks for that, and we'll speak again later. Thank you.